Hey everybody, welcome back to Everyman Prepping. Happy Monday to everybody out there. And before we get into some of the news stories I want to talk about, some of the things happening, I want to show you the newest prepping item added to my vehicles. They just came in just the other day, over the weekend actually, and I wanted to show you. And that's these things here. This is your basic class 2, reflective safety vest you see construction people, emergency workers wearing. So I got a couple of these, put them in the vehicles, and you might ask yourself, why is that a prepping item? Why would I need that? Well, first thing, for safety. Let's say you do have a vehicle breakdown, your car breaks down, your truck, and it's on a busy road, and you got to change a tire or do something. Probably a good idea maybe throw one of those on so, well, you don't get run over, clipped by a car, any of that. Also, another thing is, when there are roadblocks, either in a natural disaster or some other police activity or any other roadblocks, diversion things going on, you see people wearing those vests, and they're usually directing people where to go, what to do. And it might be good if you put it on and you look like you're part of that group and you're allowed to tell people where to go, or you're allowed to decide to go through a roadblock or to a certain area, or maybe you're allowed to go around a certain area because you are wearing a vest and you look like your authority. You look like you belong there. I mean, that's half the battle in the world, and that's something I tell my family is, if you're going somewhere, look like you belong, and people are going to assume you belong there. Part of being the gray man and fitting in is look like you belong there. And this would help fit in emergency situation like that where you need to get out, where you need to get in. Could help. For the price, $8 to $10 a piece. I got those on Amazon. I can link them below in the description if you want. I think there was a 2-pack for $16 or something like that. The official look like the real thing. They are the real thing. They're class 2, reflective, all that. So for the price, throw them in the back of each vehicle. May never use them, may use them, who knows, but that's what I've added. If you've had anything new to your preps, put it down below as well. Tell everybody what you've done, what's your newest thing you've done. While you're doing that, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, share button, all that great stuff. And let's get on with the stories here. As you can see, the cat joined us in the background for the brief as well. All right, what do we have here? Well, the first thing is some good news. We're starting with good news today because everybody once in a while needs some good news. So the U.S. corn crop is off to its best start in 3 years. Farm Policy is a great X account that monitors all kinds of farm production, crop production, what's going on in that world with food supply. So, they're saying with 75% of the fields in either good or excellent condition, the best in 3 years. That's great. We need food. We need more food. Hopefully they just don't end up selling this to China and none of it stays here. But, good news. Corn, the corn production, corn yields should be high this year. Now, we could have weather eliminated a lot of this, but for now, it's good. So that's good news to start with. Now let's start with some of the other not so great news. And I put this out this morning on X. I said, remember last week when Putin said he was going to give weapons to the enemies of the United States? Since the United States is doing a proxy war with Ukraine, Putin's like, well, we can do a proxy war against you by giving our weapons to the enemies of the United States. Well, these are the ships arriving in Cuba. Do you think possibly maybe they're dropping off some weapons to Cuba? Who knows? I don't know either. It could be a possibility, but we're going to see what happens when they go along. But could be what's happening, from here. So got to keep our eye on it. Which leads to this. We have Russia could deploy ICMBs in Mexico. State TV warns. Now, as a disclaimer, take this with a giant bag of salt. This is, state TV for Russia. It's like the CNN of the United States. So, this is what they're saying, but, it's also what the people view over there. It gives you a sense because, most of the people here in the United States, they watch CNN, MSNBC, and all that, and they kind of follow that. So the same is true in Russia. They're probably watching a lot of state TV. They might agree with state TV. But this says here, Russians on Kremlin state TV yesterday declared that Mexico was their military ally, and they are wanting to place their missiles on Mexican territory so Mexico can attack the United States. Now, is that possible? Yeah, possible, probable. I don't know. They do have a new leader. Remember, they just elected the first woman president of Mexico. She's a hardcore progressive leftist. She may be all down for having Russian weapons in there. Who knows? So there's a new leader over there. We will see. Goes on to say Russian media pundits suggest Moscow could deploy nuclear-capable ballistic missiles in the Caribbean in response to NATO countries giving Kiev the green light to attack inside Russian territory. They're like, well, if you're going to do that, why don't we put missiles next to the United States? Tit for tat, all that stuff. Which then, if you look here at this photo, this is from this Russian state TV X account. They're saying, hey, why don't we put some in Mexico? Throw some in Nicaragua maybe. Let's definitely do Cuba, Venezuela. This is what they're suggesting. Like I said, it's not from the government. It's from state, TV. But, Putin, right here, he did say, hey, we're going to arm the enemies of the United States. So do we have another missile crisis coming up? Who knows? I mean, we got missiles super close to Russia. They're probably saying, why don't we just do the same thing? So let's keep our eye on that fire. And then we have Lavrov. There's the financial... St. Petersburg right now in Russia is holding a giant, financial get-together with hundreds of countries talking, and there's BRICS meetings going on there as well. And Sergei Lavrov here, as you can see in the picture, right, this gentleman right here, he was giving a talk today. We're going to go through some of his highlights in a post here in a minute. But, he basically said that BRICS is developing a platform for transactions in national currencies. And he goes on to say, BRICS is prioritizing the creation of this platform that will enable member states to conduct transactions in national currencies. So, meaning not the US dollar. As you also probably know, yesterday, the expiration of the petrodollar. You haven't heard anything about that. It's been quiet. Everybody's keeping it quiet. In 1974, the United States signed a deal with Saudi Arabia saying that they will only use the US dollar for all trade in oil. Only they will buy and sell oil and only U.S. dollars. That's the petrodollar was created. It was a 50-year deal. Ended yesterday. Have you heard anything about it? Probably not, because it's being hidden. But it's no longer null and void. There is no new agreement. The prince said they're not signing it, so Saudi Arabia can now take payment for oil in anything. Rubles, rubies, yuan, Bitcoin, gold, silver, whatever they want. So, this goes along with what I was saying. We're going to trade in international currencies. They're doing that to, kill the U.S. dollar. So keep an eye on this petrodollar thing. See if anybody talks about it. See if Saudi Arabia says, yes, we're open for business and whatever you want. That starts happening. They create this and start to circumvent the dollar more. You're going to see all that inflation that was exported. All those dollars that went out to other countries that had to use it. Well, those dollars are still out there. And they're going to come home. When they do, you're going to see some hyperinflation. So let's look at some of the highlights from Lavrov's speech here talking about the BRICS. The second point here, BRICS is an association where the principles of equal cooperation are actually implemented. BRICS has always touted this. Everybody's on the same footing, and we're all the same in BRICS. There's 11 of us now. We're all equal partners. It's not he's poking at the United States, where the United States rules the SWIFT system, the petrodollar, the reserve currency. They tell everybody what to do or else. He says that's not how BRICS is going to be. We're going to be equal partners, everybody working for the good of everybody. And what else do we have here? The group is driven forward by the wind of change, and its role in global processes will only increase. So that's their thing. Say we're going to get bigger and bigger. We're going to take on the G7 and everybody. And finally, the transition to a new world order will take a whole historical epoch, and it will be thorny, as the United States is trying to slow down the formation of multipolarity using trade as blackmail. It's basically saying the United States is using not only trade, but sanctions. We're going to sanction you if you stop using our system. We're going to sanction you if you don't like it. We're going to confiscate your reserve currencies like they're talking about doing with Russia. And that's another reason BRICS wants to develop all this. Going on from here, we see really quick, we'll go into, it says, the West does not shy away from forceful methods. The examples which are known. He's talking about sanctions. It says, recent international events have dropped the mask of those who claimed the exclusive right to dictate their values to everyone. Once again, talking about the U.S. and what they do. And then finally ends with, BRICS members are working to improve the international financial system, in particular to create a platform for international trade. He doubles down once again. And of course, they are on the heels of doing this. There are going to be more BRICS meetings later on this year in August. We're going to see if they actually have this thing designed. And then you'll see maybe if there's that nail in the coffin for the U.S. dollar. We shall see. All right, moving on from that, we have F-16s. Everybody's waiting for the F-16s to arrive in Ukraine. And according to the Kiev Post X account, it says here that Western F-16s, when they're transferred to Ukraine, will be stored at secure air bases outside the country to prevent them from becoming targets for Russian attacks. That was according to, what's his name here? Serhiy Holobstov, something like that. Head of aviation for the Ukrainian Air Force Command. Supposedly he told this to Radio Liberty. Well, let me tell you this: if they are stationed in Romania and Poland or whatever, and then flown into Ukraine, flown into Russia even and hit, Russia's coming after those planes. Not only going to shoot them out of the sky, but they're going to come after the airports. They've already mentioned we're going to come after the countries and the facilities and the air bases that these things are launched from. And could you blame them? I mean, just because they're not in Ukraine doesn't mean they're off limits. They're going to come for them. And, and basically Ukraine's, said that's what we're doing. This leads to this next article. Ukraine has claimed the first ever fighter jet strike on Russian territory. The U.S. said, hey, go ahead and use our weapons within 200 miles, 300 kilometers of the border. The UK, France, Germany, they all said, yeah, go ahead and use our stuff in Russia as well. Why not? Let's just go ahead and start attacking inside of Russia. So Ukraine is touting that it has launched a successful airstrike by fighter jet inside Russian territory. They said they hit a Russian command node in the Belgorod section, a region of Russia, on Sunday. They said there's a likelihood that a Western supplied missile was used in the attack. I think it's more than likely. I'm pretty sure it was. And it goes on to say this is the first UAF air delivery munition delivered against a target in Russia. Well, this is just another. It's getting bad. They're attacking inside Russia. It's not that Ukraine is doing this to win the war. They're doing this to just instigate more response from Russia because they really need NATO to get in because Ukraine has lost this war. They're not even trying to push Russia out of the territory Russia's in. They're not attacking there. They're not even attacking, in the Kharkiv region where there's new push. And the Sumy region's coming soon. They're not doing this to push them back. They're attacking inside of Russia, basically just to, stick your finger in the eye, to make them mad, to make them respond. That's what's going on. Yes, they hit a couple oil refineries every now and then, which slows down the production, I guess, which could hit the war effort. They could say they're going after logistics to slow them down, but if Ukraine wants to win, maybe they need to concentrate on kicking the Russians out of the part of, the territory inside of Ukraine. I don't know. That's just me, but I don't think that's going to happen. They know that's not going to happen, so they're basically just saying, let's do as much as we can, irritate them as much as possible, so that Russia does a huge response, tactical nuke, attacks fighter jets in Poland, let's say, and let's just get NATO in this because it's a lost cause. That's what I think is going on there. So that's the end of the talk of the war in Russia and all that stuff going on. I have one more thing to address before we get into the EU elections, and that is there was a treasury bond sale this morning here in the United States, a 3-year auction, and as it says right here, after an ugly auction, right there. What does it mean by ugly? That means the government had to increase the yield before anybody would buy them. Nobody wanted to buy the U.S. bonds. No one wants to buy them. The U.S. dollar is becoming worth less. Pretty soon, maybe it'll be worth less. But when they say an ugly auction or a tail, that means the rates had to be jacked up for people to want to buy the bonds, which means, well, no one wants them. We know China's been selling them. Japan's been selling them to prop up their currency. It says, when the Treasury sold $58 billion in 3-year paper for sale, the market reaction was not pretty, and for good reason. The demand sucked. Okay, so what's that mean? Demand? There's no demand. Nobody wants these things. It says, overall, this was an ugly, if not horrendous, auction, and the market reacted accordingly, sending yields to season highs, and the 10-year rising to as high as 4.48. So yeah, no one wants the U.S. bonds. No one wants the U.S. money. Just wanted to hammer it home here so you can see, real-time data that, this attack against the U.S. dollar is happening, and you need to guard yourself. How do you guard yourself? Well, you take your fiat currency. Once again, not financial advice, because I don't have one of those cool fancy degrees to actually give you financial advice, but, as an idea, you might want to take some fiat currency and turn it into some type of asset, whatever asset. It could be prepping assets, things like this. It could be precious metals. It could be other hard items. It could be Bitcoin if you're into crypto. It could be anything. You might just want to, convert that stuff. Also, look at the stock market. I know it's super high right now. Nvidia's almost $3 trillion or whatever, doing a 10-for-1 stock split, but we all know what happened in 2000, right? In 2008. So just keep an eye on that once again. Not financial advice. And finally, the EU elections are going on. Let's end with this really quick. And the EU elections are going more far right, they're calling it. More conservative. They're taking over. Francis Macron said, I got to have snap elections because he lost his majority, so they need to redo elections there. Germany's Schultz is also under pressure to do the same thing. We'll see if he does it. The UK Prime Minister is stepping down now. I know he's not in the EU, but it's happening over there. There's a lot of stuff happening in Europe right now. A lot of conflict going on over there. So we got to keep our eyes on what's going on over there as well. And that wraps up today's quick brief. Like I said, if you have things that you're doing prepping, new things, put it down below as well. Share with everybody else. Have questions, do the same thing. And until next time, keep your ear to the ground and head on a swivel.